Okay, what I'm going to show you is the picking open of a Chubb 3G114. First thing I'm going to do is just show you the inside of the lock. So I'm just going to take off the plate, just so you can see exactly what's inside this type of lock. Now obviously the Chubb 3G114 is a BS3621 lock. Okay, so what you can actually see in here, or what we have to contend with when we pick this type of lock, is that we have an anti-pick stump and we have false fences, which are little V-shape notches cut into each of the fences, either at the top or at the bottom. What you'll also see is, looking through the pack, you can actually see that one or two of them sit extremely low. In fact, they actually sit on top of the curtain wheel, so that makes picking a little bit more difficult, but there's particular techniques that we can use to get around that. Okay, so it's a basic 3G114, the type of lock which you tend to come across quite a lot, okay, on front doors. So I'm just going to pop the plate back on and just do up the two little grub screws. Okay. One more in there. Okay, so that's all done up. I'm just going to reposition the camera so give you a better view of the actual lock being picked. Okay, now obviously I'm doing all this in one take, so you can see exactly what goes on as I pick the lock. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. Okay. So what I'm going to do first is just show you obviously that the lock works, and we've got the original key here. This is actually a lock that we just took off a job on a lock change. Okay, so it all works okay. And the tool that I'm going to be using is the LTC adjustable snib curtain wheel pick. So I just put the T-bar in as deep as it will go into the lock. Then I've got my actual pick. I'll just feed the picking. Put it all in the keyway, then I can turn all of that. Okay, so what I do, I'm just going to start at the front of the lock. I'm going to work my way through the pack, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, all I'm doing as I go through, I'm just going to lift them just a small amount at a time. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, sit slow, so I just corkscrew, lift that out of the way, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. And you just saw that slight bit of give on the bolt. You may have seen it on the T-bar. That's where I've now engaged the anti-pick stump, so I need to reset the lock and start through again. I know that number 4 sits low now, so I'm going to lift that one out of the way first, come back to the front and work my way through. Because with this type of lock, what you find is it's a lot of having to pick, reset, pick, reset, pick, reset. Because if you engage one of the anti-pick stumps, there's absolutely no point to continue to pick, because the lock won't open. Just engage that again, reset. And all I'm doing, the first few times that I go through, I know that I'm more than likely going to engage the anti-pick stump. So what I'm doing at the moment, just like there, is building up a picture of how the lock reacts as to how I go through. So it's a gradual process. One thing you never do with this type of lock, you never try and rush it. It is a hard lock to pick. Just there again, anti-pick stump. I was going through a different combination there, and I still engage the anti-pick stump, as you will do. And sometimes you can almost tell when you're going to do that, just like there. So I'm just going to continue through, just using slightly different combinations as I go through of where I lift. Ultimately, what I'm looking for as I go through the pack is anything that feels soft, I tend to leave alone. I don't give it too much of a lift, and it will tend to want to drop back down anyway. So I'm looking for the ones that need that slightly extra or a little bit of help to lift, because they're the ones that the stump is making the most contact with. So they're the ones that you tend to lift first, or will find their right place. I'm just lifting them a very small bit. Anti-pick stump. Anti-pick stump. So you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just going through nice and slowly. I'm not trying to rush anything. There's not too much tension applied. This isn't about tension or force when you come to open these locks. It's all about the control, going through the lock, building up that picture. So just going through, just gradually, just picking or lifting just very small amounts at a time. Anti-pick stump again. So you can see when you engage the anti-pick stump how abrupt it actually is. So you know when you've engaged it. There's absolutely no point to pick once you have done that. You must reset the lock. Anti-pick stump. Anti-pick stump. I'm sure now that if you're watching this you can appreciate the actual lock itself, and if you've ever tried to pick one of these, and it can be quite a frustrating thing, but the more you keep calm and concentrate on the job at hand, the more success you'll have. Anti-pick stump there. Oh, just lost that number 4. Obviously on this lock I've only got one that sits low, which is number 4 in this case. On some locks you could have 2, but you just use the same technique where, or I call it the corkscrew, because you're basically lifting the pick and getting the upstand underneath to lift. You see how it takes time. I'm not trying to rush this, and there you go. So you can see, if you take your time with the lock and don't try and rush it, the Chubb 3G114, probably one of the most respected locks within the locksmith trade. From a domestic point of view, they can be picked.